chap on the desk, if I must say. We quite like that one.
Yeah.
Great game by OMG. I think from the 4th minute onwards, they regained control of the matchup and did a very good job. I want to talk about those opening few minutes because it looked like TPA really wanted specific lane matchups. They recalled and tried to move around a few times. Fisho, you had some thoughts on the matter.
Well, first of all, OMG decided to 1v1 fight. I'm just going to take it very first here. Level 1 decided to go in against... We had Lulu, we had Karma, Graves, and Lissandra. If you face check into this, you get so much damage level 1 in your face. I'm not sure what the idea was, but it didn't work for them. However, when it came to the lanes here, they wanted to go 2v1 against Lissandra. They didn't want Renekton and Lissandra matchup. So they kept swapping over and over and over. I've never seen a team recall so many times early on. I think Renekton was in the base 4 times before like the 5-minute mark. He just kept swapping around. And it actually meant they fell behind in CS early on. But then simply due to them playing so well on the map and the vision control there to set up fights, they got back in the game, got back in the farm as well.
Now, in terms of the rest of the game playing out, very early on, OMG managed to find team fights that played into their favor, and they managed to just keep TPA down. It felt like at any time OMG wanted to kill, they had the tools and the ability to source it and take a member of TPA out.
Yeah, so OMG, they do that by looking at blue buffs. So this game, they had 9 blue buffs to TPA's 1, compared to 5 red buffs to 5 red buffs. They just targeted blue buff. They didn't care about the red buff, so they went for that one. We have a replay of their 8-minute blue buff invade, if you want to pull that replay up on the screen real quick. So what I talked about at the very beginning was the fact that TPA has inferior sort of short-term tactical calling compared to OMG. If we want to roll this clip right here, OMG, generally speaking, are better at making snap decisions. This is actually a different one. It's actually San getting pushed around. That's not what I expected at all.
Tower. This is a tower type that's actually happening.
Notice the jump here.
This is actually, I think, where TPA gets a little ahead. They ended up trading 3-4-2, a little bit greed. And this is like their one shot to get back into the game. But they actually get shut down later anyways. In those valuable blue buffs invade, as you said earlier.
This was quite a painful dive to watch because of the number of the mistakes on both sides. In your opinion, looking at the plays, looking at the individual mistakes and skill shots, is that nerves? Is that just mistiming, miscalculating? I mean, what would your opinion be if it was your team that had done that, the cause of the problem?
My team was at All-Stars, and then missed skill shots. Probably wake up. No, I mean, there's multiple reasons. Either somebody on your opponent's side does something you don't expect. I mean, either you respect the player so much that you say, okay, he's gonna move in this way because he's so smart, and then he doesn't do it, or there's just mind games. You can miss skill shot. Then there's just flat out errors. When the jungler got caught, the Elise got caught. For example, he panic cocoon backwards. Wouldn't have mattered, but there's different reasons why it can happen. But nerves do matter, especially once you get in these larger stadiums. Especially when you can hear the crowd chanting team names. That's when it gets really serious.
While we didn't have the replay of the blue buff fight, can you expand a little bit more on OMG's blue buff control and the way they found kills?
Right, okay, so they go for blue buff, they go to control that. Now, in the specific case of the first blue buff steal, which is, you know, every single blue buff from down on the get, Going's teleports up, and Achi's is not. And basically, the way I looked at the vision a couple of times, like, TPA knows for sure it will be at best a 4v4, and that there's probably a teleport up, and they just get sucked into a 4v5. And what's great about what OMG does is they actually pull back, and they keep getting chased until TPA walks past a ward that Going teleports onto. And it's like, well, now there's a Renekton in the middle of your team, and it's just like the easiest team fight ever from there.
And even the whole setup before they actually start the blue buff, they go mid lane with multiple members. Lulu is very low on mana at this point here, and they force it to either use it little lanes to try and wave clear or get a lot of damage onto the tower. So they keep TPA in the mid lane. They force all the mana away from Lulu, and then they rotate over to blue buff. So even if there is a fight, Lulu can barely do anything.
And even as the game progressed, too, when you were looking at the number of vision wards that they had over the enemy blue buff as well, and just taking a look at the composition here, I mean, you've got a ton of hard CC, you have immense single target burst with Kha'Zix and Syndra, so really any situation, they set themselves up so well for a pick comp, and they were able to get that. Even though I have to say that some of Allen's plays were a bit over-aggressive over the course of the game, they had enough follow-up damage and they had enough follow-up crowd control that it didn't make too big of a difference. But that is going to be a concern, I think, for OMG going forward, is that a team with that is able to capitalize on those overextensions a little bit better than TPA OMG may find themselves losing objectives over that.
What team would that be?
Oh, I wonder.
Fnatic.
Freak, do you have some closing thoughts just before we move on?
Yeah, I want to bounce off your point about the pick composition because you talk about Syndra and the ultimate. Well, Syndra's ultimate's one of the most telegraphed abilities in the game, and you've got a team with Elise and Lissandra, both of whom can become untargetable and dodge his ability. And there's actually a specific case, I remember seeing it. Achi gets ulted, he flashed away from turret range, then like his ulti's available as Lissandra and just takes it and dies. And, like, could have just blocked the damage, right? And I know, Krepo, you talked about being nervous and missing skill shots and whatnot. Like, I'm seeing this repeatedly, TPA making individual mistakes.
Very quickly, Krepo.
Okay, in his defense, his mindset was probably either I survive his ulti and walk away, or ulti myself and they'll still kill me afterwards, because if you're invulnerable sitting still for 2 seconds, team will just creep up on you and kill you. So that mistake, we can forgive them. But TPA did look a little...
Well, you can forgive them, Freak, apparently.
Nope.
Right.
Not at all.
All right, we do have to move on, guys. I do apologize. It is one more time for a quick commercial break. When we return, SKT T1K will be the first Korean team that Cloud9 will be facing as they both head to the Rift. And of course, we do have some footage of both of these teams preparing for their next game, and they are both hoping to go 2-0 on the first day of All Stars Paris. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.